management consulting expert and author of Why Should Managers... No, what's the author name of your book?
Management Experience Acquired.
There it is. I didn't have the title. Here it is. Management Experience Acquired, Necessary Skills for Successfully Managing Any Employee. This is not good.
No, it's not.
So, but here's the thing. I'm a manager. I have a business to run. I have a budget to meet every month. I'm sucking blood from a stone with the employees I have. Why should I hire anybody?
There's no question about that. You have to figure out the return on investment. They're not going to hire these folks unless they can see that there's going to be some value to hiring new people. And they also are going into 2011 not knowing what their budget's going to look like by at least 10%.
Because of taxes and uncertainty with regulation. Okay.
Yeah, and so how can they really hire new people when they don't know what their budget is looking like? October is the typical budget month, and they have not been able to do it because there was no extension of the tax cuts. They're going to reconsider it at some point, but let's be hopeful that they're going to do it.
But that's a good point, because most companies who work on an annual fiscal year, calendar year I should say, sit down in October and plan for the coming year. So we sit down right now, and what are we talking about? Everyone's sitting around the table saying, I have no idea.
That's right. And they also don't know what the health care initiative is going to bring.
That's a good point.
And they're not sure if they can afford health insurance. You know, there's been some information in the news about McDonald's and other companies that are thinking of trashing their insurance policy, not really knowing what's going to happen.
What about the rise of freelancers, consultants? Are we going to see more of that type of hiring? Because it's kind of non-committal.
Oh, it is non-committal. It's somebody sometime. And they're going to see if they can meet the needs. If they can't, well, then they move on to somebody else, but they're expendable. Now, if they get a wonderful temp or a wonderful contractor, then they're going to want to keep that person.
If I'm an employee right now, what should I do?
Well, you need to make sure that you're keeping current. And that's a more difficult thing than people realize. You need to look on the system, look on the internet, look to see what's going on in your profession, and also what's going on in your company or a company that you're thinking of applying. See what makes them tick. Make a list of things that you could do for the company that somebody couldn't turn you down. The most important factor in hiring people at this point is creativity.
So you need to be expendable.
Yes.
Or not, I'm sorry, you're not to be,
yeah.
You don't want to be expendable.
That's right.
What's that Rambo movie? Rambo, you're not expendable. Expendable?
Yeah.
Rambo. It was Rambo.
Yeah.
I need to make myself basically a very important part of this company so that they can't let me go, they need me.
That's right.
As a manager, what am I doing? What am I thinking about right now? I mean, maybe I am at a point where my employees are just, they're dying. I'm working them to death. What do I do?
Yeah. That's it's a very tough problem because you don't have money to give raises. You don't have any incentives to provide people. What I think is one of the best things to do is to involve them more in the management of the organization. Not to manage people, but to involve them, ask them, they're the people who are doing the work. So how do they feel that they can do it better? How do they feel they need to grow with the company? What kind of recommendations they have for the company? And so they need to be involving them, and that's one of the most important things they can do. And in turn, they get better work from the employees.
Are we seeing more and more of that these days? Because it used to be, closed door, you don't talk to your manager. There's a lot more open doors these days.
Oh, yes.
Are we doing more and more of it? Because as you're saying, it's a free way of giving someone almost a promotion. I'm involving you more in the day-to-day business.
That's correct. And getting them specifically, strategically involved helps everyone. It helps the employee, it helps the manager, helps the overall profits of the company because everybody's contributing more. And employers are asking people for concessions in these times as well. So you add that on top of it. You take less pay. We'll avoid layoffs. In fact, when you look at the jobless numbers and you look at that 9.6%, you have a whole other layer of people who've given up in the job market. And there are also more people who have taken a pay cut to remain employed and also to avoid layoffs for their coworkers. It happens.
So with all that, what's the one thing then that managers in this environment are doing wrong?
Well, managers are fearful of their own jobs as well.
Fair enough.
They're afraid that that layer of management is going to be eliminated and the really exceptional generalist is going to be taking over. You know, somebody's going to go tap the generalist on the shoulder and say, you're now the manager. So managers are reluctant as well to identify people that might be taking their job. So what managers need to do is measure the success of their employees. Very important. Figure out what the factors are that are important measurements for each job, and it's different for every single one. But to be keeping track of the measurements and make sure that they're keeping the movers and shakers and they're knowing who they are.
That's a great point, actually. What is it? Keep your enemies close?
Oh, yes.
Something like that? How's that go?
Yeah, keep your enemies, friends close and enemies closer.
Something like that.
Something like that.
I'm blanking today on all my references. Somebody help me. You have to write in and tell me what that is. And what's the one thing employees are doing wrong these days?
Employees are getting complacent.
Yeah.
And they're probably losing motivation because there are limited rewards. There are no jobs out there. There's no place for people to go. If they don't like the job, they have to kind of suffer in silence in many situations. So they need to be giving their all, identifying what is the best creativity they can add to that job.
I think you're right. I think now is the time for creativity, for entrepreneurialism. Get that spark under your butt, get out there, and make yourself really, really valuable.
Make yourself indispensable and look to see what the initiatives are in a company, look to see what you can add to it, and make sure that they're going to keep you.
Yeah, because it seems that the job cuts are not stopping anytime soon.
They're really not, and especially with people not knowing where they stand with budgets and with the taxes. We need to make sure that we're creating an environment that's friendly to entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And we're not doing that.
We're not doing that, Wendy. Wendy Powell, thank you so much for being with here.
Thank you, Tracy.
Being with us, managing experience, acquired necessary skills for successfully managing any employee is her book. Check it out. Come back. We got to keep talking about this.
Thank you, Tracy.
And you guys have to keep getting inspired and do things. And did somebody write in and tell me what the quote was that I couldn't remember? It's enemies close. Somebody said it. Come on. Old Japanese proverb or something like that. We're going to take a break. When we get back, we're going to talk about how to cut down your monthly phone bill. And we have to talk about how the family business is still thriving, because it is. Your Dow's only down 42. Oh, it's down 42, a little bit more than when we started. And again, we got bad news on jobs. The only upshot today was that somebody wants to buy Yahoo. I'm not really sure that's an upshot. So we'll take a break. We'll be right back.
First is the beginning. First kicks open the door, and possibilities follow. First resets everything. First moves us forward, fast. We all want first. First isn't later, it's now. What will you do first with Evo, the first 4G phone? Only from Sprint, the Now Network.
Come on, keep your friends close, your enemies closer, something like that.
That's Machiavellian.
Who?
Machiavelli wrote that. The Prince.
He did. The Prince.
That's right.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew it was something. Carlos is with us. Carlos Lamadrid, did I say it right?
That's right.
Senior VP and Chief Brand Officer at Women's Day magazine. I have it right here. This is the current issue. Where should I go, Mike? Here, there it is. It's on. Never mind. I love this magazine, and I don't know why, because I just think it's like, it hits everything all in one shot. I'm a working mother, so I get everything I need in one little shot.